Every winter, thousands of homeowners wake up to water pouring through their ceilings, and most of them had no idea anything was wrong the day before. Here's the thing. That kind of disaster is almost always preventable. After 3 decades in the trade, I've never once had a pipe burst in my own home, and it's not luck. Today, I'm walking you through the 10 things I check every single year to make sure it stays that way. Number 8 is one most folks have never even thought about, and stick around for the bonus tip at the end, because that one alone could save you from a nightmare. The first thing I check every single year, without fail, is my outdoor hose bibs and sillcocks. Now, if you're not sure what a sillcock is, it's just the fancy name for that outdoor faucet mounted on the side of your house. Here's why this matters so much. When fall rolls around and you forget to disconnect that garden hose, water stays trapped inside the stem of that valve. It sits there, and when the temperature drops below freezing, that water expands. Copper, brass, it doesn't matter. The pipe splits. And the cruel part is, you won't even know it happened until spring when you turn the water back on and it's pouring into your wall cavity from the inside. So here's what I do every October. I walk the outside of the house, disconnect every single hose, and open every outdoor faucet. Then I go inside and close the individual shutoff valves that feed those hose bibs. If you have frost-free sillcocks, you still need to disconnect the hose so the valve can drain properly. I'll tell you, I've seen more burst pipes from this one thing than almost anything else in 30 years. Takes 5 minutes. Do it every year. The second thing on my annual checklist is pipe insulation in unheated spaces. I'm talking about your crawl space, your garage, your attic, maybe an unfinished basement. These are the places where pipes are most exposed to freezing temperatures, and they're also the places most homeowners never look at. Foam pipe insulation is cheap, usually just a couple dollars for a 6-foot section. But here's what happens. Those foam sleeves dry out over time. They crack, they fall off. Mice chew through them, or maybe they were never installed in the first place. Once a year, I grab a flashlight and I go check every visible run of pipe in those unheated areas. I'm looking for gaps, missing sections, anything that's deteriorated. If I find bare pipe, I replace the insulation right then and there. You can pick up foam sleeves at any hardware store, and they just slip right over the pipe. No glue needed, though I like to tape the seams with a little foil tape for good measure. This is one of those $10 fixes that prevents a $10,000 disaster. The third check I do every year is my water pressure, and I use an actual gauge to do it. You can buy a simple water pressure gauge for about $10. It threads right onto any hose bib or washing machine valve. Here's the thing most homeowners don't realize. Your water pressure should sit somewhere between 40 and 80 psi. Anything above 80, and you're putting constant stress on every joint, every valve, every fitting in your entire house. It's like running your car engine at redline all day long. Something's going to give. High pressure doesn't just cause pinhole leaks. It wears out your washing machine valves, your dishwasher solenoids, your toilet fill valves, all of it. If your reading comes back above 80, you likely need a pressure-reducing valve installed on your main line. Or, if you already have one, it might need adjusting or replacing. I check mine every fall. Takes 2 minutes. If the number looks good, I put the gauge away and move on. If it doesn't, I deal with it before winter, because cold weather and high pressure together are a recipe for a burst pipe. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, do me a small favor and hit that subscribe button down below. I put out new videos like this one every week, walking you through repairs that'll save you a small fortune in plumber bills. Subscribing is free, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next one. All right, let's continue. The fourth thing I check is the pressure relief valve on my water heater. Now, this is a safety device, and it's there for a very important reason. If the temperature or pressure inside your water heater tank gets too high, this valve opens up and releases water to to prevent a catastrophic failure. I'm not being dramatic when I say that. A water heater without a functioning relief valve is essentially a bomb. So once a year, I lift that little lever on the valve and let it discharge a small amount of water into the drain pipe or a bucket. If water flows freely and stops cleanly when you release the lever, you're in good shape. If it drips continuously afterward, or if nothing comes out at all, that valve needs to be replaced. They cost about $15, and they're a straightforward swap. Mineral buildup and corrosion are what kill these valves over time, especially if you have hard water. Don't skip this one. I've seen tanks fail in homes where this valve was painted over and hadn't been tested in 20 years. That's not a plumbing repair at that point. That's a disaster. Number 5 on my list is exercising the main water shutoff valve, and I cannot stress this one enough. Most homes have a main shutoff valve where the water supply enters the house. It might be a gate valve, it might be a ball valve, it might be in the basement, the crawl space, or near the water meter. Here's the problem. If you have a gate valve and you never turn it, the internal components corrode and seize up. Then when you actually need to shut the water off in an emergency, like when a pipe bursts at 2 in the morning, you can't. Now you've got water flooding your house and no way to stop it. So every year, I go down and slowly turn that valve closed. Then open it back up. I'm not forcing anything. Nice and easy. If it's a gate valve and it feels stiff, work it gently back and forth until it loosens up. If it absolutely won't budge, that's your sign to have it replaced, preferably with a quarter-turn ball valve, before you need it in a crisis. This takes 60 seconds, and it's one of the most important things on this entire list. The 6th thing I inspect is any exposed pipe that runs along an exterior wall inside the house. Now, this one catches people off guard because these pipes are technically indoors. But if you've got a supply line running through an outside wall, and the insulation in that wall is thin or has settled over the years, that pipe is a lot closer to the outside temperature than you think. Kitchens and bathrooms on exterior walls are the usual suspects. I've seen pipes freeze inside walls where the homeowner had no idea there was even a pipe there. What I do is check for any cold spots on those walls in the winter. If a section of wall feels noticeably colder, there might be an insulation gap. In some cases, you can open up the cabinet doors under a kitchen sink on an outside wall and let the warm air from the room circulate around those pipes. During extreme cold snaps, that alone can be the difference between a normal morning and a flooded kitchen. The 7th check on my annual list is the water heater anode rod. Now listen, most homeowners have never heard of an anode rod, and that's a shame because it's the single most important part that determines how long your water heater tank lasts. The anode rod is a metal rod, usually magnesium or aluminum, that screws into the top of the tank. Its whole job is to corrode so the tank doesn't. It sacrifices itself. But once that rod is used up, the tank itself starts rusting from the inside. And a rusted-out tank doesn't just leak, it can fail suddenly, dumping 40 or 50 gallons of water onto your floor. I check mine once a year by unscrewing it with a 1 1/16 inch socket. If the rod is less than half an inch thick, or if it's coated in calcium and falling apart, I replace it. A new rod costs about $25 to $40. Replacing your anode rod on time can add 5 to 10 years to the life of your water heater. That's real money saved. The 8th thing I check, and this is the one most people completely overlook, is the flexible supply line connections under every sink and toilet in the house. These are those braided stainless steel lines, or in older homes, sometimes plain rubber lines, that connect your shut-off valve to the fixture. They're under constant pressure 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Over time, the rubber lining inside those braided lines degrades. It starts to balloon, and when it finally gives out, you've got a fully open water line spraying into your vanity cabinet or across your bathroom floor. Insurance companies will tell you that supply line failures are one of the top 3 causes of residential water damage claims. So once a year, I get down on my knees. I'll admit it takes me a minute to get down there these days, and I look at every supply line in the house. I'm feeling for bulges, checking for any signs of corrosion at the fittings, and looking at the date stamped on the line, if there is one. If those lines are more than 10 years old, I replace them. No questions asked. A pair of braided stainless supply lines costs about $8 to $12. Compare that to a $20,000 water damage claim, and the math speaks for itself. Number 9 on my list is the washing machine hoses. This is the same principle as the supply lines under your sinks, but the risk is actually higher because most washing machines are tucked away in a laundry room or a basement where nobody's watching. Those rubber hoses that came with your machine are under full household pressure at all times, even when the machine isn't running. Rubber deteriorates, it cracks, it bulges, and when one of those hoses lets go, it's a full-flow water line with nothing to stop it until somebody notices or the water supply gets shut off. I've talked to homeowners who came back from a weekend trip to find their entire first floor soaked through because a washing machine hose blew while they were gone. Here's the thing. I replaced my rubber hoses years ago with braided stainless steel washing machine hoses. They're more durable, and they resist bursting far better than plain rubber. But even braided hoses need to be checked annually and replaced every 5 to 8 years. While I'm back there, I also turn the valves off and on to make sure they still work. My Uncle Ray used to say the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy is a good set of hoses and the habit of checking them. He was right about that. The 10th and final thing on my annual checklist is a simple visual walkthrough of my crawl space and basement. I know, it's nobody's favorite way to spend a Saturday morning. But I'll tell you, the number of problems I've caught early just by looking is hard to overstate. Once a year, I go through every accessible area where pipes are visible. I'm looking for green corrosion on copper fittings, white mineral deposits that indicate a slow drip, any sign of moisture on the floor or walls near pipe runs, and condensation that could signal a temperature or ventilation problem. I check the joints on my drain lines. I look at the condition of any hangers or straps holding up horizontal runs. I check that nothing has shifted or sagged. This isn't complicated work. It doesn't require any tools, just a flashlight and 15 minutes of your time. The goal is to catch small problems while they're still small. A little green stain on a copper elbow today is a $5 repair. That same fitting 6 months from now could be a pinhole leak, spraying water into your floor joists. Take your time on this one. Walk the whole space. Look at everything. All right, now for the bonus tip I've been holding on to, and this one is dead simple, but incredibly effective. If you're going to be away from your home for more than a couple of days during the cold months, shut off your main water supply before you leave. Just turn that main valve off. If something does fail while you're gone, a supply line, a hose, anything, the water will stop once the pressure bleeds off instead of running for days and flooding your house. I also leave my thermostat set to no lower than 55 degrees Fahrenheit, so the house stays warm enough to keep pipes from freezing, even if a cold snap rolls in while I'm away. Between those two things, shutting off the water and keeping the heat on, you've eliminated 90% of the risk of coming home to a disaster. It costs you nothing, takes 30 seconds, and it's the kind of common sense that separates homeowners who get lucky from homeowners who stay prepared. That's how my Uncle Ray taught me, and that's how I'm teaching you. Before you go, if you got something out of this video, do me one last favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos every week covering real-world plumbing repairs, money-saving tips, and the kind of know-how that takes years to pick up on the job. Subscribing costs you nothing, and it makes sure these videos show up in your feed when you need them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.